knowing that you can get to the loose center position and use the building a bridge technique in order to win the game. So one of my personal favorites because it allows me to just absolutely crush it in rook games. So learn it and you'll be able to do the same. Alright, we have 4 principles down, 3 to go. If you are enjoying this video, consider liking and consider subscribing. So principle number 5 is the best squares for the kingside knights, for white and for black, are f3 and f6. And the reason is actually quite simple. On f3, the knight is in a prime position to flexibly jump to e5 or g5 to be on a more active square. It also influences the center quite nicely, 2 key central squares here, but it also serves a very powerful defensive role, defending the h7 square and also the h4 square from something like a queen dropping in. Now, just a little extra for experts when it comes to the kingside knights. The f8 square is actually a very good square for the kingside knight as well, particularly from a defensive standpoint. So I'll show you what I mean. This is a pretty standard position. It's black to move. Black is playing against an isolated d-pawn. So black is going to want to play a knight onto d5. Unfortunately, knight to d5 immediately loses that bishop on e7. So what can black do? Black can play knight to f8. Now the queen is defending the bishop, and on the next move, black is going to play knight to d5 and continue the plan. So the point of the knight on f8 is it actually defends that h7 square nicely. It really makes it hard to penetrate black's defenses, and it also can jump into the play via g6 or later on back to d7 and then f6 once these pairs of knights are traded on d5. So there you go, a little extra for experts with the kingside knights there. Principle number 6. In the opening, you want to prioritize developing your knights and bishops before your queen and your rooks. So here's an example. Basic queen's gambit declined. Let's just play knight c3, knight f6. You can kind of see that this is a standard book line, but the point is both sides are castling their kings, but essentially getting their knights and bishops out before anything else. The reason is you don't want to move your queen out yet because you don't know where it wants to go yet, but also if you move the queen out too early, it's going to start getting kicked around the place. So the classic example of this is actually the Scandinavian defense, e4, d5. Black allows this queen to be brought out, and now the best move is probably just moving the queen back and again starting to develop your knights and bishops. This is where beginners can go wrong. They start playing moves like queen to e5 check, just because it's a check. Unfortunately, allows white to get a bishop out, and now knight f3 kicks the queen drops back, and this is how quickly things can unravel if you're not careful. Knight to d7, let's say castle, and then g6, trying to get the bishop out here. Unfortunately, now white can play something like knight to b5, and that queen's just going to get harassed. That queen should have just stayed on d8, but now, let's say queen c6, d5. Now, if black takes here, we're just going to sacrifice that queen with the royal fork, forking the rook, queen, and king. And if black decides to move that queen away, still keeping an eye on that c7 pawn, because that knight is threatening to fork. Bishop e3, now where can the queen go? c5 blocking it, d takes c6 en passant. And then after queen to c6, check out this absolute awesome tactic. Knight fd4, again, the queen getting kicked around, and pause the video here if you want to try to find the move, but it's amazing. Knight to e6, absolutely beautiful. Discovered attack, so f takes e6, loses the queen, and if the queen takes the knight, boom. Royal fork again, and again, it just starts with the queen getting brought out way too early. So principle number 6, get your knights and bishops out early, and don't worry about your queen, worry about your queen later on in the game. In fact, here's an extra bonus, extra for experts. Queen to c2 is usually the best square for the queen, and queen to c7 for black. So if you really do need to move your queen, just move it up 1 square this way, and you'll be fine. Last but not least, principle 7, the 2 weakest squares on the chessboard are f2 and f7. In the starting position even, it's just the kings that defend these 2 pawns, and throughout the game, they can be extremely weak and weak entry points for your attacks. So I'll just show you a couple of simple tactics to illustrate the point. In this case, black can go wrong quite quickly with knight to b6, sort of naturally attacking that c4 bishop. However, that bishop's going to sacrifice itself on f7, deflect the king, and white's going to win a queen. Here's a very similar one in the Caro-Kann. e6, bishop to c4, and now if black plays the natural move, bishop to e7, check this little trap out. Knight takes f7. With a fork, the king has to take. Knight to g5. And now, black is toast. The queen's under attack. There's a whole bunch of discovered attacks with that knight and bishop on the king. White is winning. And last but not least, and this is one of the most fun sacrifices you'll see, just pause the video here if you want to try to find the sacrifice, but take note that black doesn't have a knight on f6, which we said was a very key defensive piece. So what happens from here? That h7 square is quite weak, and also that f7 square. So rook takes f7. Again, if black doesn't take this rook, then black's just lost the pawn, but then it's a very key pawn, and white's just going to double rooks and win the game. So you take, queen takes h7, and now you kind of see the king is not coming back into the corner, into a nice defensive spot, and that rook is going to go to f1. So after something like rook to g8, we've got essentially a forced mate, rook to f1. If we go check, so king e7, and then after a few zigzags with the queen, queen h4, king e8, queen h5, king e7 leads to mate on that f7 square. Or, after g6, we simply go queen to h7. Again, that soft f7 square. So the rook comes back here, but then we just go check, king e7, queen g7 check, king e8, and checkmate on f8. So principle number 7, these two squares, watch them throughout the whole game. They are your softest points in your position usually. And there we go, 7 key principles to help you improve your chess. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's going to be a couple of videos that pop up on your screen. Click on one of them to continue learning, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.